An American tragedy. 24 years ago, September 11th, we lost many souls. Now, recently, September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated at Utah on a campus with freedom of speech, speaking his mind. Josh, tell me your thoughts about what you think.
Definitely an American tragedy. You know, everything going on in this country right now, I think most people are looking for unity. I think this just creates more of a divide. What we're here today to discuss is the legalese behind what's going on with the victim, with the Charlie Kirk, and I'm sorry about that. And just kind of discuss what's going to happen, what people can expect seeing in court. Does this person have a right to a fair trial? Does he have a right to an attorney? In Utah, there is the death penalty. Some people say there's a firing squad or death by lethal injection. So a lot to unpack here, a lot of issues, a lot of divide between the country, whose side's at fault. We're not here for that. We're here to discuss the legal aspects of what happened with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, how to move things forward, how to make people understand what it's like to be in a situation like this, and what the legal perspective is for the people that are going to be representing this person who pulled the trigger.
Well, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old is what we know so far, alleged perpetrator. Again, the state or the government, the federal government or the state of Utah, whoever is going to be prosecuting this case needs to prove the case, obviously, first and foremost. Just because you may have picked up somebody that may have pulled the trigger, if they can't put the evidence together and make the case in the courtroom and, beyond a reasonable doubt for a jury to find Robinson guilty, then none of these occurrences are going to happen. But he will have his day in court. He'll have counsel. If he can't afford one will be appointed to him. That's our right under our...
Yeah, and I don't know how factual a lot of the news is at the moment. I think people are trying to unpack everything. I did see something where a podcast or some sort of website where he does admit to killing Charlie Kirk. Again, we don't know what is accurate at this point. Everything's going to unfold. I'm sure there's going to be a million stories, a million conspiracy theories that are going to be going on right now. We don't know exactly what happened as of just yet. I know they found shells with engravings on it, hypothetically or allegedly. And again, a lot to unpack here, a lot of evidence, and we don't know quite yet what's going to be introduced into court and how we're going to move forward.
What we do know is Charlie Kirk is dead. He leaves behind a wife, Erica, and 2 young children that were actually there at the event and witnessed a horrific assassination. So our hearts and prayers go out to him, to his family and children. Hopefully this is a wake-up sign for all Americans, regardless of political spectrum. Violence is not the answer. You want to change anything, go get involved in your local politics. Go take a position. Go do something that changes what you feel may impact a better community or a better life. That's what we definitely want to stress and educate more. And
Josh, you had some facts on some death penalty related other countries and things of that nature.
Right. So, I mean, the gentleman who's got picked up and seems to be identified as the alleged killer. Utah's got the death penalty. They've got 2 methods for the death penalty. You've got one by firing squad, which is relatively old school. And you've got one by lethal injection. My understanding, we're not licensed in Utah, but my understanding is that the Utah firing squad would be reserved for certain types of convicted killers, killers of police officers, young children, things of that nature. We don't believe that Charlie Kirk would fall into those categories, so it would be a lethal injection. But interestingly, when you were talking about that type of death penalty, the firing squad, what happens there? Is it just one guy with a bullet? Is it a bunch of guys with bullets? What they actually do is they have a group, a trained group. One person has live ammunition, and the rest of them have blanks, and no one actually knows who shot the fatal shot. The other piece of this, it brings up as awful as what he did, right? Allegedly, right? Whoever did it, right? As awful as it is, and it's a massive tragedy, and political violence, I don't care what side you're on, is absolutely never ever the answer. But we talk about the death penalty, and is that something that a modern society, a modern democratic country should be engaging in. Really, you're murdering people for whether it's for, to stop other people, right? To make other people think twice about some heinous act that they're going to do, or just straight up punishment. And in recent times, democratic countries have significantly reduced their reliance on the death penalty. And we were talking before we got moving here, the top 5 countries who have engaged in the death penalty and who have used the death penalty more than anyone else, it's China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United States. So, it depends on what you think there, but he's certainly going to be eligible. Whoever they convict here is going to be eligible, for the death penalty, and it does seem like it would be more of the lethal injection route. And there are, books and classes, and, you talk about it in law school about whether, that's something that we should still be doing, in 2025, but it's and you certainly see both sides of that, right? I mean, you can make the argument both ways.
And that's a state by state
correct
decision.
But
That's a state by state. So
shouldn't you rule peace by strength, the meaning that if you have such a tough punishment for a brutal, heinous crime that we saw happen, isn't that punishment an eye for an eye in the sense of what happened here? Because
Sure.
You've now left a widow, 2 young kids. And this was premeditated. This wasn't just, oh, sorry, I fell down, my gun went off, sorry about that. It was planned. He was on the rooftop. It took a shot. One shot killed right through the neck. Everybody saw it. It was awful. It was horrific.
Yeah.
The question becomes, when it comes to the death penalty and having that sort of theoretical legal discussion, is, deterrence, right? So the first thought is, well, if we do this, then it's going to deter other people.
Correct.
And I think the studies have shown that actually isn't the case, because people who are going to kill are going to kill, and they're not. Maybe they think they're not going to get caught or whatever it is. Someone who's got that hatred in their heart to do whatever that hateful murdering act is, or is it just straight up punishment because you want to punish?
I think
that's not a bad argument if that's the way you want to be.
I also want to know how much tax dollars comes into play here.
Yep.
I mean, it's expensive to keep people in prison.
It's expensive.
And we're the country with the largest amount of people in prison.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of people in prison. It's expensive to keep people in prison. What's that, in private prisons?
Well, that's why we have some. I mean, listen.
But
that's a discussion for another.
So I want to pick your brain for a second,
sure,
Josh.
Yeah.
So let's talk about somebody who gets convicted of driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated multiple times. Should they not go to jail? Because in essence, you're saying, well, if the punishment is supposed to be a deterrence, but it's not deterring people, how do you stop like a drunk driver from then not driving anymore?
No, you absolutely.
You take away his license. You give him suspension for a little bit. After he keeps doing it, what are you supposed to do? You have
But
to
you're
put him
analogizing a DUI driver who the punishment there. I'm assuming this driver hasn't killed somebody yet. So just assume for a second.
Okay.
So you're analogizing a driver who you're going to put in jail. You're going to take away their driving rights, things of that nature. Those types of punishments to ending someone's life as a punishment. And I think those are two majorly different things, and I don't think you can
switch
you
the
can make those
hypothetical now.
parallels.
Now that person kills some of their family, kills other people on the road, now is your position still the same?
Well, also murder is different than manslaughter.
Correct.
There's different penalties for murder versus manslaughter. We know that one's premeditated, one's not. One has malice or intent, one doesn't. And in this situation, what we have to now fight for, and again, this is what maybe the public doesn't realize is, start to switch it up here, but court procedure, federal government versus state government. Federal government is going to come in here and say this person who shot Charlie Kirk committed an act of terrorism and that they deserve to have the right. And the prosecutor or the AUSA or whoever the attorney is for the federal government, the federal prosecutor, is going to say this is an act of terrorism. We have to file federal laws, and he has to serve some sort of penalty under federal law. Now, the prosecutor for Utah is going to say, well, actually, this is a one-off murder. This is, the states have the right to police themselves.
I think they're
this
going to
has nothing to do with the act of terrorism.
I think this is a big profile case. I think they're working hand in hand together. They're going to figure out who has the best office to put through this case.
But the gentleman who shot and killed the healthcare owner of what was it?
But you're talking about New York versus Utah.
New York versus Utah.
This is a different.
They're fighting right now between the
because
Southern District of New York.
Should that be the case?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be the same across all 50 states, or do you think the federal government should be giving preferential treatment to one state over the other?
It is the same across all 50 states. Just what you guys aren't realizing, or maybe I know you did with that comment, was you have Utah and New York. You have two different political states right off the map about Utah, the governor came out, said, we are going to find this person. We're going to hold him to the fullest extent of the law, whatever that is. New York, they may have released this guy and given him a hotel room with food and money to go out and spend money, because that's what New York does.
But that's not actually. But we
But
know
yeah.
what happened, and that's not what happened. So you're just making up a story to fit your narrative.
The person Lou Mangione was not afforded bail rights.
No, they literally threw the book at him as soon as they could.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
They weren't
So-
playing patty cake with him.
Yeah, and by the way, I understand what you're trying to say,
Right.
and different political states have different political agendas, but this is a fight between state government and federal government, and whether it's a murder or an act of terrorism. Now, I personally,
if it was a fight,
think,
the federal government would win, right?
no, that's not the way it works.
Not entirely, no.
Because it's an argument as to what court should have jurisdiction based on the facts and the evidence that goes into the crime.
Who's to oversee and hear this? Who's going to hear that argument? Is a federal judge going to hear the federal
I don't-
governments and then make the? That's what
Yeah, I don't know who's going to make that argument or who makes that deciding factor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that one has the authority right away over the next, right? States have the right to police themselves. Federal government, there's checks and balances from FedGov to state gov, and the state gov is supposed to have the police power, right?
In order
So
for the federal,
it's-
sorry,
Yeah, no, no.
George, I'm sorry. In order for the federal government to come in, there has to be a breach of federal law, right? There has to be something in which the federal government is involved that has been breached, where to take it away from the states. And I think with I don't know what in Mangione they are relying on to try to take it away. I honestly don't, so I'm not gonna make it up because I don't know.
Yeah.
But here, I can certainly with Charlie Kirk, I can certainly again just
Understand
with
the
way
perspective.
under perspective and the way in which the political winds are blowing, I can certainly see the federal government coming in with a
saying-
strong hand and saying we're going to take this over.
because-
I don't know what they'd use as an actual basis to do it, but I can see it happen.
But both the federal and state can also bring charges and charge him, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, they can both do it.
So it's not like you're
And you
limiting.
do one after the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, whether or not it's going to be politicized, or I'm sorry,
Absolutely
It
be
is.
politicized.
I mean, listen, this is
Too
gonna,
late for that.
I mean, how many trials are public as well? Is this going to be televised? There's going to be a lot of things going on.
Well, any federal trial is not televised.
Well,
We'll have an artist.
Check your phones at the door.
I've
been there, right?
Yeah, I have been there. But anyway, tragedy in America. Now's the time to speak in a peaceful way, hear what other people have to say about the opinions, even if they differ.
And the Assassination, he was a part of the Charlie Kirk with the Turning Point USA, is carrying on as what they were saying with their statement, that they're trying to go on to more campuses throughout the country and spread the word of what Charlie Kirk was about.
100%. And again, we'll be coming down here. We're three lawyers up here talking to you guys. Talking is the way to do it. That's the way, we're a democracy. Yeah, we're debating. I mean, we debate every day. Whether it's friendly or not is another case, but we don't get violent.
It's always friendly.
Yeah, we
friendly.
always take a deep breath. It's important to hear what people that differ from your opinion have to say, and then you can move forward from that point on, right? Listen, the reality of it is that this is a tragic event. Violence is never the right move. Yeah. And if you have any questions, tune in. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any legal questions. Well, we'll do our research on some Utah law. Chime in, leave a comment, and let us know what you think is going to happen here.